Welcome everyone to this panel discussion on artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. I am Kati Seukens. I'm Operations Manager of the Cybersecurity Coalition. And for those who have just joined the conference, the coalition is a unique ecosystem of cybersecurity experts across all sectors of Belgium. And we try to create a platform where those experts can exchange knowledge and experience and define common actions to boost the cyber resilience of Belgium. I'm also co-founder of the Belgian chapter of Women for Cyber, an initiative that has already been mentioned today and that strives for more diversity in the cybersecurity workforce. In the next hour, we will explore two critical areas of technology that are rapidly transforming our world. Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing many aspects of our lives, from healthcare to transport to finance and many more. But the rise of AI has also given rise to many new and complex cybersecurity issues that absolutely need to be addressed for secure and safe use of those technologies. But today, I'm very happy to introduce my panelists who bring a wealth of knowledge and expertise in these areas, and with whom we will explore the current state of these technologies, as well as the challenges and potential solutions. So we will have first Charles-Henri Bertrand van Oedsel, if I pronounce it correctly, Federico Mynens, and Xavier Lesage. And I've asked each panelist to present their activity in a few slides. And I will first introduce Charles-Henri Bertrand, who is a grantee of the National Fund for Scientific Research and is currently working on a PhD thesis under the supervision of Professor Axel Gay at the UCL in Louvain. And his research area focuses on malware analysis and detection. And in this context, he's particularly interested in the study of symbolic analysis and machine learning methods. And then secondly, we have Federico Mynens, who is a highly experienced cybersecurity professional with over a decade of expertise in network security architecture, SOC, blue teaming and product management, and he specializes in designing and deploying robust cybersecurity architectures. He has a proven track record of supporting customers across various industries and environments, including SaaS, cloud, hybrid, and on-prem. And Xavier Lesage is a senior research engineer in the data science department at CETIC. He holds a master in electromechanical engineering and computer science and management. His main interests are artificial intelligence, cloud computing, distributed data processing, and cybersecurity. And he has a particular interest in the health sector, and more specifically, the use of artificial intelligence in healthcare. But I will first give the floor to Charles-Henri, please.
So, hello everyone. As introduced by Katie, my name is Charles-Henri Bertrand Utsel. I'm a researcher at UC Louvain, and I'm interested in malware analysis and how AI could help analysts to analyze malware and to improve the detection of malware and their classification. So, just some context. In fact, a huge amount of malware which are observed in the world are variants of already known malware. And so in this context, at the beginning of the thesis, we think that artificial intelligence could help to improve their detection by helping to create the signature to detect this threat. So I will explain a bit what I'm doing in my thesis. I will not doing too much to detail, but just to give a broad image of what I do daily. So I'm interested in symbolic execution. In fact, it's a way to analyze a program and to try to explore all the possible behavior and all the possible action that a program could do, in fact. Theoretically, in practice, obviously there's always some trade-off to do, but it's a way to ensure that when you take a program, you explore all the execution paths and all the capability of the program. Like that, for example, in the case of malware, you could ensure that you see all this malicious behavior. With this tool, this symbolic execution, I try to create an abstraction of the behavior of the malicious program, and which will be a graph. And after having created several graphs from several programs which are known to be malware, I try to generalize and to create signature to detect those threats. So the big picture of what I'm doing, it's working on this tool chain, which is called SIMA, for symbolic execution for malware analysis. And from different malware, which are obtained from different company, from website, and which are already labeled, I try to use the symbolic execution to extract those abstraction that I told before about, which represent really the behavior of the program. I apply machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithm to extract signature and to extract common behavior from this different abstraction. And thanks to that, I create signature to detect future variants and to be able to improve the detection of the malware. Another subject I'm also working on is the packing detection. Packing is a way for binaries and for malware to hide their behavior by encrypting their contents or using different tricks. And in fact, this kind of stuff, it was already studied in literature, and we try to detect if something is packed, because if we know if something is packed, we could apply some dedicated tool to analyze it. And to detect if something is packed, we try to apply AI techniques by just extracting different features of the binary we want to analyze, and letting a model be constructed to try to detect the fact that the program has used this technique of packing or not. For this, so we focus, our goal is really to understand, in fact, in this context, what model the ML built at the end. So we focus on the impact of each feature on the model. We use explainability techniques to understand when we build a model with artificial intelligence to detect packing. We use, for example, a shape value or techniques like that to try to understand which feature influence the model. And if we know which feature influence the model, we could also think about how this feature could be modified to try to bypass this ML model, which are the limitation of this ML model, and build on it. We also, with some other students, develop some framework to assess and to replicate experiments on machine learning applied to this problem, and to compare machine learning to existing detector to see limits of the detector which are used by analysts, and how machine learning compared to this detector in on known controls to be sure that we are really outperforming or not the other two. So it was a wide picture of what I'm doing about the two subjects, and so that will be it for me. I hope that we'll be able to give some useful tips for useful insights about the interconnection of AI and cybersecurity in the panel discussion after. Thanks.
Shall I start? Yes. So, welcome everyone. I'm Federico. I already been introduced, so I'm not going to waste time on that. What I'm going to tell you is that I'm here to defend the interest of the normal company in Belgium that is trying to use artificial intelligence to secure the infrastructure. I think that there's plenty of research, interesting research on evolution in the field. Nevertheless, most of the technologies, most of the companies are kind of helpless when they need to implement that. So a little bit of what we do. I work for Nynox. We offer SOC as a service, Security Operations Center, and we focus on defensive security. Nynox is the SOC of Bowtie also. Basically, we have 3 layers that we offer to customers. I don't want to convert this into a sales pitch. It's too late. So we focus on prevention. That's the #1 layer. Then we have detection, which is our strongest point. And then we have incident response. So when a company is breached, they call Nynox, and we do everything related to containment and forensics. We have a lot of data, as you can see, like plenty of events per minute and per day that we use to try to gain insights, but we always face the same challenges when we try to get results of artificial intelligence. And I told you that I'm here to defend the interests of the companies is because we have 2 challenges. First, we have the SOC challenge with, and if you try to look for like artificial intelligence and security operations, you have plenty of beautiful talks about people that try to use Keras, TensorFlow to actually try to solve an issue that it's impossible to solve. And mainly because my colleagues should know that, I guess, it's before AI and machine learning, you have a data issue. Basically, you need to normalize your data and work a lot with your data. And let's face it, that's one of the biggest issues, but most companies don't even have that data. If you are looking, for example, to detect command and control communications, or if a company has been breached or not, first you need the data. Most companies are not even saving the packet captures with that data. And we're still discussing artificial intelligence. So that's where the challenge 2 and 3 comes into play, and that's where we try to help customers with. Most companies within Belgium, they depend on vendors to provide that artificial intelligence. And what's the issue with that? It used to be easy to see how a detection is working. Basically, you have rules, you have if statements. If this happens, then do this. But with AI, it's like, here, there's a box. In theory, this box is able to detect threats. Nevertheless, most of my customers that bought these solutions, for example, in a normal environment, there are some solutions that are called user behavior analytics. They're based on AI and machine learning. And some of them have like 200 alerts per month. That's a lot. So we have AI, and the customer thinks that he's protected. Nevertheless, it's the same result as having the same technology without AI and just normal rules. So our first goal is, because I'm being challenged all the time if we use AI and machine learning, is how we can help customers to challenge these AI vendors. Because sadly now it's being used as a market pitch, especially with the increase of interest with ChatGPT. Everyone is talking AI. And then we need to help customers understand what are the limitations of AI, because they think that everything's possible. And as I said, it depends on the data and the vendors that you're working with. So that's the clarity that I'm planning or try to bring you in this panel.
Thank you very much. The floor is now to Xavier.
We speak a lot about the AI for cybersecurity. Now I am going to speak about the cybersecurity for the AI. For this kind of project, so simple deep learning project, of course, it's not necessary to use to secure the architecture, because it's very simple, and about the dataset is just cat and dogs.
Maybe speak in the micro, excuse me, Xavier, but
yes.
it's streamed and then it's, yeah.
For this kind of project,
You can
sorry. For this kind of project, the problem is completely different. It's needed to use a lot of data from several hospitals in Belgium. So about the security, it's another problem. In this case, for this project, I would like to detect if this tumor in red is positive or negative. and it's needed to use a lot of data from several hospitals in Belgium. So with this kind of problem, we have a lot of problems to solve. We have a lot of questions. First question, how to access to the data? Because it's an unbalanced data set. It's needed to contact several hospitals. And second question, how to preserve the privacy and the confidentiality. In this case, we have the sensitive data, so it's very difficult to use and protect. And so, how to keep under control the data and the knowledge, here the model. So, it's important to build a new model to keep. So, it's needed to build a reliable AI solution without compromising on the data privacy and the intellectual property. With the classical architecture, like the centralized learning, it's not easy to solve this problem. So we have a new approach. It's the federated learning. With this kind of architecture, it's possible to start the learning directly inside the hospitals or the enterprise. It's not a problem. It's not necessary to move the data from the hospitals to the research center or to the university. With this kind of architecture, it's possible to start the training in each hospitals and share only the model. Thanks to an external server, it's possible to do an aggregation of each model and resend the global model for each partner. And each partner, of course, can restart a new training. It's possible to use with the hospitals, but it's possible to work, with several IoT device. It's not a problem. There are a lot of architecture for the hospitals, the enterprise, or we can use the IoT device without problem. You can see here an overview of this architecture. Generally, we have several clients and one external server. This external server is used for the aggregation. It's possible with this external server to do the aggregation of each client. But you can imagine with this kind of architecture, it's very difficult. We have a lot of security risk because it's a distributed architecture, and it's very important to secure several points. For example, it's possible to attack the one client. It's possible to attack one client in hospitals. It's possible to attack the data or the model. This kind of attack is called inference attack. It's possible to obtain some information from the data or from the model. And about the client, it's possible for during the training, it's possible to do some perturbation. It's possible to, for example, during 5 minutes, change the content of the dataset. It's possible during 5 minutes, just change the content of the folder. It's possible to change the positive and malign image. It's possible to replace the image by the cats and dogs during 5 minutes. This problem is called a poisoning attack. And fortunately, with the cybersecurity, it's possible to solve this problem, this potential attack. For each potential attack, we have a solution. For the moment, we are working on the security multi-party. computation and on the homomorphic encryption. It's very promising concerning the other aspect, anomaly detection, differential privacy. It's okay. We have no problem. It's work very well. But no, we are study mainly the encryption homomorphic. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Please take a seat. Yeah, you can stop it. So thank you. So we have prepared some questions, and I understood already, Charles-Henri, that there is certainly a benefit of using AI in cybersecurity because you can detect malware. So do you see other potential benefits of using AI in cybersecurity, and how do you see it evolving in the future?
Thanks. Just first of all, I think AI in this context is not the silver bullet to solve it's all the problem, for example, for malware detection, but I think it could help to generalize and to create, for example, signature from the data. If we take back the point of AI will be really to play with the data, and so if we have access to some data, if the analysts have access, for example, to logs of action which occur on the network or other, if they have access to this, it could be interesting to take advantage of artificial intelligence to extract knowledge from these logs and automatize this process. I think in this context, the context of automatization of some part of this detection process or of the response to an incident, it could be helpful because it could help the analyst to go faster to respond to a problem. And to also take another example that I heard recently, we could also think about AI. For example, if we take ChatGPT, I heard recently that some people, for example, if they need if, for example, you need to do some basic tasks to analyze some I don't know, some traces, some logs, and for that you know what you want, to do some scripts to do that. But to gain time, you could, for example, ask some AI, some ChatGPT to generate a code, because you have the knowledge to know if this code is good or no. And so I think if you have the knowledge to know if for example, you know what you want, but you just want to do it faster, and you could assess the result of the AI in this context, it could be helpful to take advantage of this AI to go faster. And yeah, and for the question about the future, I think it could be helpful in a lot of contexts, but the thing for me which would be maybe need more work personally would be to maybe enhance the interpretability and the understanding of the limits of these methods, and also not just doing like security with obscurity, like you have a black box model, you say, okay, it works, but really understand the limit of this model. And if you understand the limit of the model and you could really take advantage of it in the right context, yeah, I think it could be helpful.
And Frédéric, do you want to add something? How do you see it evolving?
I think there are plenty of applications. As I said, it's not only, for example, your example, I think it's super interesting, but in most companies that's really out of scope. We have to think that most companies have like a small IT team, and if they have like a data scientist team or a machine learning team, probably they are doing like customer related things, because most of the advance in companies of AI, it's towards gaining more leads, for example. So we have to think that in most applications that's going to be out of scope, and that's why I really like your approach of how we can bring machine learning, artificial intelligence to, for example, hospitals in an approachable way, because I'm sure that they don't have data scientists, right? So, and I'm sure that they don't have initially the technology to exploit it. On top of that, you said something super interesting, is how we can challenge or how we can open that black box, how we can understand the limitations of the model. And on top of that, it's not only about detecting malware or compromises, but now it's really easy to clone someone. And by cloning someone, I mean cloning your face, animating your face, and your speech. So no one is trying to detect that. There are some tests that you can do, like moving the face, for example, and that, but there are no solutions now that can actually tell you if the person that is talking to you is really the person that is supposed to be talking to you. So that's what I wanted to add.
We go to Xavier for. So Xavier, I understand that there are quite some challenges in the adoption of artificial intelligence. You have already addressed some, the data, for instance, and vendors who provide AI solutions. But how can we address these challenges?
For example, about the cybersecurity, thanks to the AI, it was possible to have better tools. For example, for detect some pattern, for detect some change of behavior, thanks to a machine learning approach, it will be possible to obtain a better model for this kind of problem. For the simple problem, of course, that will be necessary, but thanks to an AI, it was possible to have better tools with the possibility to evaluate. It's very important to adapt the data set for the training. For example, if I would like detect fraud detection, it's very important to change regularly the model. It's very, very important to update this model because the data set will be changed. So thanks to this approach with the machine learning, it will be possible to obtain a new model, and generally we obtain a better accuracy.
Okay. So I understand that you can use artificial intelligence to detect malware, but I think also criminals can use artificial intelligence. And how, for instance, can we mitigate the risk of adversarial attacks and social engineering, Charles-Henri?
Okay, so around these two aspects, I think I will divide my response in two. For example, let's take the part about social engineering attack. For this, typically, I think we think about phishing, typically, so which is obviously a huge concern when you because it's often the best way to penetrate into enterprise. And for this, I think there is AI solution which begin to be used for that. But I think at some points for this kind of problem, the good idea would be to have some system which are secure by design. It could be maybe rethink the way. For example, I think at some point it's crazy that if just one person in your enterprise, if it occurs that one person enterprise click on a link and it's all messed up, maybe there's a problem in these facts inherently. It's not really totally the. Obviously, you could improve the awareness of the people about clicking on this link, about avoiding that this mail come to them. But maybe there's also work done on directly on the consequences of clicking on this link, that which will not be directly too huge. And to take the other part of the question about adversarial example, so here it's really attack which targets the AI. And generally, adversarial example, it's when you take advantage on the fact that the data set you use to train your model, there is some area in all these data possibilities that you don't have data in this area. And so you exploit the fact that the decision boundary of the model is not perfect. And so you try to take advantage of this decision boundary to bypass the decision. For example, I don't know, of antiviruses or something like that. And for that, recently I saw really good research which was interested in the uncertainty quantification of the AI. So it means that it could be interesting to add for the algorithm a measure of at which point the argument is certain or not certain of its decision. Because if you have this kind of stuff, some researchers, for example, show that in the case of malware detection in Android, the AI is maybe not able to give the right answer, but it could say that it's not sure of its answer, and like that you could, for example, automate what it's interesting which it's easy because it's really similar to already known data, and what is really new to the dataset you have before, or to the data you have before to train your model, you could let it to human analysts. Like that, you could label it and reinforce the model, and you have like this virtuous cycle when you reinforce your model. Yeah.
Wow. So Federico.
So
yeah, you want to add something? Yes.
I think like we just take turns, right? And we add as we
Yeah.
see fit. The first thing is that I think that companies needs to, I don't think it's their responsibility to implement AI or how to prevent deepfakes, for example, in phishing. But I think that at least they need to know the risks. And as you said, they need to know the models behind it and push the vendors that can provide solutions for them. I will put an example. It's not related to social engineering, but domain generation algorithm. Basically, when you're compromised, the attackers want to achieve persistence in your environment. So they do what it's called command and control communications. Basically, they compromise a server and they open a connection to a random server in the internet. To achieve that, of course, they are not going to use IPs because you can easily block that, right? So they use DNS servers or DNS names. And they basically buy a cheap domain or they get one for free, and they create plenty of subdomains with code, and they start exfiltrating data with that. There are papers that are like, I think that 15 years old that tackle this issue. Nevertheless, most companies don't even have protections for that. Most firewalls or systems nowadays have a flag that you can enable, but no company is doing that. So I think that the first thing is getting to know the risk, accept that maybe you don't have the solutions to implement that solution in your company because you need a lot of data and some models that work, and most of those models don't work because I tried them. And then you need to have people to maintain that. There's a lot of work, I think. So the first thing is push the vendors that provide solutions to you and see if there's something that can solve those issues, and ask for the limitations of that. If you have more time, test the solution. It's not that hard nowadays to trigger something and see if it's being detected. You know, if you want to check it.
So Federico, I don't have the impression that AI will soon replace human experts in cybersecurity, if I hear you. So what role do you see for human oversight in the use of AI for security?
It's not AI that is going to replace humans, it's humans that are going to replace humans because of AI. I think that, so we have a perception problem here. I think that companies need to be aware of that, but for me, it's a consequence, right? There's a huge skill gap now. Most companies in Belgium are understaffed when it comes to IT and security. There's plenty of solutions coming out every day, and not even the companies that specialize in security have the time to be like updated all the time. So I think that it's going to be a human evolution to start replacing humans with AI. And it always happened, right? Things used to be more complex in IT. So you used to have, like, for example, the firewall administration, the network administrator, this and that. And now we have like maybe one person that manages like 15 solutions. Why is that? Because you don't even log into a shell anymore to do something. You log into a beautiful user interface with 3 buttons. Enable, yeah, protected. It's like that. So at some point, I think that this solution that claim to be AI-based are going to start replacing, are going to simplify the work of humans. And the humans, what I see in the future is that the gap will be the same, because then you have your issue that you mentioned, which is the poisoning of those nodes and everything. So, but how it's a Belgian company able to protect against that? Like, and first you need to gain access to the system, and then you need to compromise that. So there are plenty of steps. So I think that in the future, what will happen is that the work will shift towards people that specialize in understanding the output of those models, as you mentioned to me before the conversation, and then on people that protect those models. But someone will need to provide connectivity at some point. So I don't think that those jobs will disappear.
But maybe it will become even worse, because if you start using AI in cybersecurity, you need cybersecurity skills and AI skills.
Yes and no. And it's a question that I get a lot, and I've been thinking a lot because we are thinking Nynox how to deal with that. Do you actually need AI experts to use AI tools? Assuming that you don't even have the access to the models that they are using. It's a closed box. So, and when you see the output is like yes or no. There's not even a percentage of, based on the things that I saw, like, yeah, there's a 52% chances that this is something. No, the AI companies, what I saw is that they try to build solution for the normal people. Normal people don't like complexity. So I would like to ask both of you, what do you think about this? Does the normal company needs people to understand AI, assuming that most solutions have closed models and don't have access and don't give access to the companies to interpret or change the behavior of the solution? I don't know who wants to go first.
And in effect, about the poisoning attack is very difficult to detect because during the training of the model, it's possible to change the content of the dataset during two minutes or 3. It's very difficult to detect this kind of problem. So, thanks to tools based on the AI, on the machine learning, it's possible to detect this kind of problem. But it's important to have a human in the loop, because sometimes it's evident it's not an error. So it's very important to have a human in the loop and use the other tools too. There are a lot of tools for the firewall, for each team. There are a lot of tools, and these tools based on AI is new tools, but it's important to use the other tools and to keep the human in the loop for the decision. Is a critical problem or not?
Do you want to add something, Charles-Henri?
Yeah, just to question. I was thinking also about this kind of stuff. For example, if you take the problem of decompiling a binary, you know that, for example, some malware, they could know that you are trying to decompile it, they will use some trick to avoid it. So we could make like the parallel. It's like there is another tool where people try to evade this tool, which are not AI, by using some trick. And so I think in your case, if you say that you have the model and you don't have access to the weight, I admit that for me, for example, if I need to work with this kind of model, it will be a problem for me because I know there's inherent limitation, and I think it's in this kind of stuff that we need to challenge the enterprise. Totally agree with you. But if you, I think at some point we could, like I said, for example, the uncertainty, maybe we could enforce the need to have mathematical guarantees about, for example, the output of the model. I was talking about uncertainty prediction, and maybe this could be some way to do it. But if you're in your case, like you said, when you just have the model and you don't have access to modifying the model, it's really a black box. Yeah, I think we need to challenge this kind of model. And for me, it would be better, to have this knowledge, to, like any other tool in cybersecurity, to know, if you know how it works, you know the limits, and so you will not be fooled by the attacker. But if you just work in a black box, it's perfect to be fooled and not to work properly. So yeah.
A fool with a tool remains a fool. Yeah. But I would also now like to address another aspect which Xavier touched upon, and that is, how can we balance the need for privacy with the need for data to train the AI models? And what are the ethical implications of using personal data in AI for cybersecurity?
Yes, in effect, it's a big problem because to train an AI, you still need to have a lot of data with a specific feature, and generally, this data is very sensitive, like the mammography in the medical sector. It's very difficult to obtain this kind of image. And it's very important to obtain this image, but avoid the privacy and confidentiality is a big problem. So it's needed to use another solution based on the federated learning approach. Use, for example, the encryption homomorphic. So for to preserve this privacy, the confidentiality is very important to secure the data and the model. So thanks to the federated learning, it's one solution. It's possible to train an AI directly inside the hospitals or the enterprise without transfer of the data. It's possible to encrypt, of course, several types of information, the knowledge, the model. It's possible to encrypt this kind of information thanks to the homomorphic encryption. It's possible to use the SMPC to secure the transfer between each partner. It's like a puzzle with several pieces to send on the network. So yes, it's a big problem. It is needed to use another solution because when the data is copied from the hospitals to a university, a research center, in case of problem, we lost the control of the data. The data is not is out the hospitals. For some data, it's very problematic. Voilà.
Okay. You want to add something? No. So we also discussed about the AI vendors and the challenges with, but for smaller organizations, how can they use AI-driven and machine learning technology in their businesses? Which challenges should they address with priority? Maybe Xavier or Federico?
First, I think that we mentioned more than once, but they will need a lot of storage to store data to start with if they want to start playing with that, or they can limit themselves to simple cases that won't give benefits, I guess. For me, the best shot for small companies is first being aware that these solutions have limitations, rely on solutions, and then try to exploit them as much as possible. Try to find the limits of those solutions and try to find if those solutions are able actually to solve the use cases that they have in mind. So first is, I wouldn't recommend doing that yourself because it takes a lot of time, expertise. You need to play for hours with Python, data. You need to have plenty of space, sometimes powerful machines, depending on the type of AI or ML exercise that they're trying to achieve. So most companies don't have that. They don't have the people. They don't have the focus. Probably they don't have the budget to maybe spend money on this. And then if you go to your manager and say, hey, I want to play with ML and AI, how much time are you going to get? So first is identify the use cases that you want to solve. See if ML and AI can help you solve that, because maybe there are a simple solution out there. And then if there are solutions that claim that can solve that, is try to understand how they work. No company that I know asks those questions to the vendors that claim doing AI. They stick to what they say, yeah, we do AI, and that's it. And they show you an output. So to recap is define the use cases that you want to solve, see if AI is the solution, and then if you have a solution, try to understand the limitations of that solution. Right.
Yes, in effect. Donc, start with a basic project, very simple, for the automatization, for example, for the admin task. But use the best technology, not directly the deep learning architecture. Sometimes a decision tree is sufficient. So there are a lot of possibility in the architecture, and generally we go to the big architecture with the deep learning, and after a good analysis, decision tree is efficacious, sufficient. And if the expertise is not present in the enterprise, don't hesitate to contact the research center to give the best approach, the best guideline. Is very important to start with a basic project, analyze the technology to use, deep learning or not, and if needed, contact several enterprise or research center to have more information on the implementation of the AI. And often, before start the AI architecture implementation, is needed to prepare the environment. Is needed to have some data. Is needed to prepare some database to extract some information. Often, before to start with a project in AI, it's very important to prepare the context, the data, and when we have the data, okay, we can start the phase with the deep learning project, for example.
Are there perhaps any questions from the public or some experiences to share? So maybe you can first introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Sarah Klein. I work as a senior data scientist with CIRIS, so another research center, in the applied research indeed, and especially when it comes to homomorphic encryption and secure multi-party computation. Let's say the experience that I made it's still very limited. It's still very resource and computationally demanding. Do you see that it will be anywhere really applied in the next 5 to 10 years?
For the moment, we do a lot of experimentation with the small model and with the 3 or 4 clients. Because with the homomorphic encryption, if the number of the client is very important, the CPU time is a problem. So in this case, we recommend to use the SMPC. But the SMPC is a good solution if the number of clients is very important. But if I have only 3 clients, there are a lot of security problems with the SMPC. It's possible with an accord between 2 clients to detect the information for the client tree. So if we have an architecture with, for example, 3 or 4 clients, the homomorphic encryption is a solution, but with a client model, a small model. But if the number of the client is very important for an architecture with a lot of IoT device, I recommend to use the SMPC.
Any other questions?
I have one for you. Sorry. Can you, I know if you can, but can you share some details of how your infrastructure looks like in terms of servers or resources allocated to those servers, like memory, CPU? A lot of CPU and a lot of memory, I guess, and disk space. Yes. Okay, but yeah, that's.
So, Kurt.
Still a question for Xavier. How do you organize the governance of such kind of solution? Because you have you have many people, and they are sending algorithms to train to different customers of hospitals or whatever. How do you organize your governance of this?
Yes, with this kind of architecture, it's very important to have the same model. It's impossible to use several models, so in the coalition, it's important to select one model, and after we can start the training. So yes, about the governance, it's the first step. It's needed to select a model. There are a lot of framework of federated learning, and yes, it's a compromise. Sometimes it's possible to use a very nice framework for the federated learning, but it's not available on GPU, or it's not possible to do the differential privacy. So about the governance, is very important to select the compromise. Okay, it's not possible to do the differential privacy. Okay, I am going to develop this component for this framework. But yes, today there are a lot of framework available, and it's not easy to select the best framework, and it's depending on the data. It's for the cross-silo approach or the cross-device approach. There are a lot of cases possible.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe to wrap up our discussion, do you think that the benefits of AI in cybersecurity outweigh the risks or vice versa? Just go ahead.
I think that there's no choice. At some point, as I said, is humans are going to replace humans, not AI, because of a business reason of costs. And at some point, it's going to be the same with risks. So you either have a set of black box solution and say, okay, I'm able to detect up to 80%, 90%. And if I put like humans do the same work, I have human errors, they get sick. So I think that it's going to be inevitable also. So I think that companies are nowadays, they are choosing AI solutions because there's no other choice. So it's a question of risks and it's a question of costs and efficiency. So I think that we'll need to accept, and ideally we know the limits and know how to, and these vendors are more open in what they do.
Yes, in effect, and it's important to have more information about the black box for the transparency, for the explicability, the interpretability. So there are a lot of solutions available, and it's not easy to open this black box, and it's possible to have more information about the content of the black box thanks to the explicability, interpretability. So it's very important, but in effect, we have no choice. It's important to use this kind of technology, and of course, be prudent with the data set for the training. Be prudent with the bias. So sometimes it's not a good idea.
So to conclude, Charles-Henri.
Yeah, to complete, I think, like we said, there could be a good tools in cyber, but as any other tool, we need to think about the risk of this tool, the limitation of this tool. Maybe since they are not as well known as other, maybe to put emphasis on the risk of this tool, and maybe like we discussed, challenge more the vendors. I know, for example, that there is some MITRE which developed some framework to systematize the different attacks which could occur on ML. That could be an idea to force people to think about each of this step. Just again, how to put it into place is complicated, but just if we begin to systematize which are the risks, we could think about the risk, we could think about the limitation of this tool, and use it for the good and not like a fool, like we said.
Okay. So thank you, gentlemen. We discussed a lot of the risks, the benefits of artificial intelligence, but I have the impression that it's it's important to continue the research, the innovation, the collaboration. And also I retain as an important conclusion that while AI can improve cybersecurity, it's just one tool in a global cybersecurity strategy that includes a whole range of other measures that are still necessary. And it's certainly a help, but we should not overlook, for instance, someone mentioned the human factor and many other things that should also be integrated in your strategy. So I really would like to thank you, Charles-Henri, Federico, and Xavier, for your many useful insights. I certainly learned a lot, and I'm sure that this will not be the last roundtable about AI in cybersecurity. Thank you very much.